Hello and welcome to the Week 2 lecture for the ADM 236. This is Professor Stanley. Today we're going to be talking about facts and inferences, and we're going to explore the differences between the two and how we use them together. Our objectives for today are going to be defining our words, exploring the characteristics of both facts and inferences. We're going to look at the standards that we use to determine facts, and then how do facts and inferences work together. And lastly, we're going to look at how we distinguish inference from fact. So let's get on into it. What is a fact? What constitutes a fact? Well, the word fact comes from the Latin factum, meaning a deed or something done. So a fact is something known with certainty to exist or have existed. Now, a fact can be verified through experience, through observation, through testing, through measurements, through testimony, and by records. A fact is something that people can generally agree is real and true. Or as has been said about truth, truth is that which most accurately corresponds to reality, and that is what facts are in a nutshell. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. How do we verify facts? Data are not considered facts until their existence or truth can be verified by reliable sources, and I would emphasize reliable sources, because there are plenty of unreliable sources out there that would have you believe that what they're publishing, what they're broadcasting is fact, when in fact they are manipulating the truth or the facts for their own purpose or their own agenda. Verification comes from direct observation, from witness testimony, from records, from documentation, and from testing. So what I want you to do here real quick is we're going to read through these following three things. How would you verify the following as fact? And then once I've stopped talking, I want you to read these, write down your answers, and then we'll discuss them in our discussion forum. So I'm going to stop here. Go ahead and write down your answers. Okay, let's look at characteristics of facts. What make up facts, or what are some of the facts that we know about facts? Well, first of all, facts are not always absolutes. That means they aren't always true. The most we can say about any fact is that its certainty is higher or lower in probability. Now, why do we say that? Because what was scientifically fact 10 years ago has now been disproved, and there are different facts that have come along and informed our basis of knowledge regarding what we thought were once facts. So we live in a universe, a physical universe, that is eternally changing. Not only is the universe changing, but our knowledge or awareness of the universe is also changing. Hopefully it's growing, but it changes. And this changes along with, or the facts can change along with the changing evidence that we use to determine facts. So not absolutes. Facts can also be either objective or subjective. And we'll talk about a few of these later on, but objective is something that can be measured, it can be verified, it can be validated. But facts can also be subjective. An example of that would be, the fact of the matter is my favorite ice cream is mint chocolate chip. That is a fact. But it's a subjective fact. It's not true for everyone. It's not universally true. So facts can be objective and subjective. Feelings can be factual, but we've got to be careful with them, because feelings can be easily manipulated, and feelings can easily deceive us, even our own feelings. Sometimes we don't understand or are misled by our own feelings. Say, for example, anger. Anger is an emotion or a feeling that is often a disguise for other feelings or emotions, like sadness or depression. So feelings we have to be very careful with, but they can be factual. Facts can also be manipulated. Social pressure is one of them. You take any number of situations occurring in the world today and see where the facts have been manipulated to influence a particular agenda or to influence somebody's an opinion regarding a particular agenda. So facts can be manipulated. And facts often depend on the language that we use to express them. So when we're talking about facts or when we're writing in the business world, we need to be very clear in the language that we use and stay away from vague, imprecise language. Typically, vague, imprecise language is something that people use when they don't know what the facts are and they're trying to BS their way through a report or a brief or a situation. So we got to be careful with that. There are several standards that we use to determine the facts. And that's something we're going to look at here for a moment. The first one is verifiability, which means that data can be confirmed by other sources. It's not just one source. The source can be a reference source, like a dictionary, a record, such as a marriage license, or a standard, such as Greenwich Mean Time. Another source could be the testimony of a witness or an expert. Data can also be verified by the senses of a witness, agreements among people, and by measurements and documentation. I'm just having fun here with the screen. I wanted to test out a few things while I am recording and see what kind of cool little things I've got to play with. So that's what I'm doing here. So what is inference? How do we define inference? Well, when we infer, we imagine, reason, guess, surmise, speculate, estimate, predict, and conclude. Inferring, when we do that, we form a bridge between what we know and what we don't. In essence, inferring is making an educated guess. It's taking the evidence that we have before us and trying to determine what the truth or the fact of that evidence is. So that's what inferring is. It's just a guess. Or, as you may have heard, it is about connecting the dots, putting two and two together. How do we distinguish, or we can draw inference from facts, and here's how we do that. And that's how we do that. Distinguishing inference from fact. Good writing clearly distinguishes inferences from fact and the descriptions and interpretations of them. The challenge of descriptive writing is to give the factual details and not just your inferences about them. Usually we find specific details in what is most conspicuous. Indeed, they can be so obvious that we don't even realize we're seeing them. So the best descriptive reports include these details. Sometimes specifics are ignored because they seem too obvious. So the practice of stating the obvious also helps us draw sounder inferences. When we go back to look for the evidence behind our first impression, we may discover we made a hasty conclusion. What we want are conclusions that the evidence best supports, yet our minds prefer to draw and rush to generalizations. Thus, descriptive writing can become a discipline that stretches our capacities. And that's it for our lecture today. I hope you've been taking notes, and I hope you've gotten some good material from this. Thank you.